Good morning students. Welcome to online teaching session of Academic World School Bemitra. Today I am here to teach you a new chapter of history. The name of the chapter is Nationalism in Europe. So all of you have to take out your books and copies, and whatever I shall be teaching you have to take into your notice, see carefully, and whatever notes I shall write here you have to copy it down, and in the end of the session I shall be giving you some assignments. These assignments are to be noted by you, and after completing the assignments you have to take the pic of your assignment and post it in your ERP. So the name of the chapter is Nationalism in Europe, and today I am going to give the introduction of some important terms which are related to this chapter, and these terms will come across, I mean to say that these terms will come throughout the chapter. So you need to know these terms, you have to be acquainted with these terms. So I am going to explain each of the term very clearly and understand it. So the subtopics are imperialism and colonialism. What is the meaning of imperialism and colonialism? So let us start with the Latin root of these two terms, imperialism and colonialism. Latin root. So you remember one thing, that whenever the suffix ism is used, it means the idea. Imperialism is an idea, colonialism is an idea. So imperialism word has been derived from the Latin word imperium, and colonialism has been derived from the Latin word colonia. Now here the question arises, what is the meaning of imperium? Imperium means, what is the meaning of imperium? Imperium means power or authority or command or order. Okay, so this is the meaning of imperium, and in history it means power of a country. It talks about the power of a country. In the same way, the meaning of colonia is settlement on the foreign soil. So all of you have now understood the meaning of imperium. The meaning of imperium is power, authority or command or order. It means power of a country, and the meaning of colonia is settlement on the foreign soils. Okay, now we have to connect this word with this imperium, imperialism. So what is the meaning of imperialism? It is a policy of one country to extend its power and authority over the foreign territories. Once again I am repeating, it is the policy of a country to extend its power and authority over the foreign territory. I am writing here. Imperialism. It is a policy of one country to extend its power and authority over the foreign territory. Now, one example I would like to give you. All of you know that before 1947, India was the colony of Britain. India was the colony of Britain, and for India, Britain was the imperialist power. Okay, the Britain had colonized India, and it had extended its power and authority over India. So India was the foreign soil for the Britain. Okay, so in this way, British were the imperialist power. So their policy should be called imperialism. Next, what is colonialism and how does it differ from imperialism? Colonialism is a system of subjugation of one country and domination over it through conquest and settlement. Okay, so it is different from imperialism, and colonialism means it is a system of subjugation of one country and domination over it through conquest and settlement. Now, the biggest thing is, how does it differ from imperialism? Imperialism is just an idea, it is a philosophy. On the other hand, colonialism is a practical implementation of this idea. Suppose one example I am going to give you. I have got an idea, why not I should come to your house and have a lunch with you? This is my idea. And in reality, if I visit your house and have the lunch with you, this is practical implementation. Initially, British developed the idea to visit India, capture it and exploit its resources. This was their idea, and later on they did it. Practically they did it. They captured India and thereafter they settled here and started exploiting the resources of India. So this was their practical implementation of their imperialist idea. Okay, so it is just an idea. It is an idea and it is practical implementation. Okay, so it is the clear difference between imperialism and colonialism. Just now I gave you the example. If I develop the idea to visit your house and have the lunch with you, it is my idea. And in reality, if I come to your house and have lunch with you, it is practical implementation. In the same way, imperialism is an idea, okay, of visiting the foreign land, okay, settling there and exploiting the resources of that place. And if the people of one country do it, in reality, they do visit the foreign country in reality and settle there and start exploiting the resources practically, then this is called colonialism. Okay, many examples I would like to give you. One more example I would like to give you. Suppose people from India decide to go to USA and settle there. Should it be called colonialism? Not at all. Okay. Actually, settlement is necessary. People from India visit USA and settle there, and at the same time they start dominating over the people of USA. They start exploiting the resources of USA. Then it will be called colonialism. Okay. In India, British had come here and settled here. So it was not their only motive to settle here and lead life. They had come with the motive to exploit the resources of India, to dominate over the people of India, side by side settlement in India. So this was colonialism. Okay, so now I do think that you must have understood what is colonialism, what is imperialism, what are the differences between imperialism and colonialism, and I do hope that you may have written all these notes. Okay, these notes are very important. Okay, and in the end I shall be giving questions based on these terms. Next, I am going to explain about utopian vision. What is utopian vision? These are the important terms that you are going to come across throughout the chapter. So you need to learn all these terms. You have to be familiar with these terms. My next term is utopian vision. What is utopian vision? It is a dream or imagination that does not exist in reality. Okay, it is a dream or imagination that does not exist in reality at the present moment. Okay, it may be true in future, but at the present moment it is not real. One example I would like to give you. Suppose people of USA dream or do develop the desire of having monarchy in place of democracy. So is it possible at the present moment that they will have monarchy instead of democracy? No, it is not possible. What is there in USA? There is democracy, but people are dreaming of having monarchy instead of democracy, which cannot be true at the present moment. This is utopian vision. Okay, dreaming of something, imagining about something which cannot be true at the present moment is utopian vision. Just now I gave you a clear example. Through that example you might have understood. Okay, dreaming means people of USA are dreaming of having monarchy instead of democracy at the present moment, but that cannot be true at the present moment. So this is their unreal vision, this is their utopian vision. Okay, so this is also a very popular term that is going to be used in this chapter at several places. Okay, so you have to remember this term, you have to be familiar with this term. Next, what is nationalism? Nationalism, in Hindi it is called Rashtra Bhakti. So automatically we come to know from this term that nationalism means devotion to one's own country, love for one's own country. Okay, so only this definition is enough? No. Actually, in true sense, nationalism carries different forms. Okay, there is not only one kind of nationalism. In fact, if we go into the depth of the history, we will find different forms of nationalism. Okay, extreme nationalism, aggressive nationalism, chauvinism, jingoism, these are the terms which are parallel to nationalism. Okay, so first normal definition of nationalism is what? devotion to one's own country. Okay, devotion to one's own country or love for one's own country can also be called nationalism, or love for one's own country. Okay, this is nationalism. Okay, suppose all of us are Indians. Okay, and if we are having the feeling like we all are Indians, thereafter we are Bengali, Marathi, Gujarati, etc. This is nationalism. It clearly indicates that we have attachment with our motherland. We are devoted to our motherland. We love each other. There is a strong bond of unity among all of us. This is nationalism. Okay. And if we are having the sense like I am Bihari, you are Chhattisgarhi, you are Marathi, you are Gujarati, this is not nationalism. It clearly indicates that if we have this kind of thinking that I am Bihari, you are Bengali, it means that we are confined to our particular territory where we do live. This is not nationalism. Okay, if we carry the idea like we are Indians, हम सब भारतवासी हैं, हम उस देश के वासी हैं जिस देश में गंगा बहती है, then this is nationalism. Okay. Next, nationalism is equal to patriotism. Okay, one synonym is there that can be used for nationalism, and it is patriotism. So nationalism is equal to patriotism, and if the nationalism is normal, then it is equal to patriotism. Okay, and suppose if I add one adjective, extreme or aggressive nationalism, then it is not equal to patriotism. What did I say? If I use the term like extreme nationalism or aggressive nationalism, then it is not equal to patriotism. Why? Because when we do have aggressive nationalism or we have extreme nationalism, it clearly indicates that okay, we do have love for one's own country, we do have love for our motherland, but at the same time we have the desire to develop our country at the cost of other countries. We do have arrogance, we do have the feeling of superiority over other countries. This is extreme nationalism. Okay, when British had come to India and captured India, what did this signify? These British people had love for their Britain, they loved their British country. Okay, but at the same time they wanted to develop Britain at the cost of India. They had developed a desire, why not we should go to India and exploit the resources of India, and same money will be utilized for the development of Britain. So what kind of nationalism they were having? Extreme nationalism. Okay, aggressive nationalism. And aggressive nationalism is not equal to patriotism, it cannot be called patriotism. Okay, there are two particular terms. It is called jingoism, or chauvinism. Okay, so these two words are new words. Remember these two words. Jingoism or chauvinism means extreme or aggressive nationalism, and it is not good for the world, because if a country does have this kind of feeling, then other countries are going to come under the problem. Take the example of Britain. Britain developed this kind of feeling, India came under problem. India was colonized by British. South Africa was colonized by British. Sri Lanka was colonized by British. And France had also developed this kind of extreme nationalism. Then who did become victim? Who did become victim? Vietnam. Vietnam was colonized by France. Okay. So extreme nationalism is very dangerous for other countries. When we do have extreme nationalism, we do have, okay, it is true that we do have attachment with our motherland, but at the same time we develop that desire to capture other countries, to exploit other countries for the sake of our own nation, for the benefit of our own nation, for the development of our own nation. Okay, we want to develop our own country at the cost of other country. Okay, so other countries are becoming victim of this desire. Okay, other countries are being exploited by this desire. So this type of nationalism must not be welcomed. Okay, do you know that this type of nationalism had been responsible for the First World War? Okay, okay, European countries. In European countries, people had developed the desire. They had developed the attachment with their motherland, but at the same time, they developed a desire to capture other European countries, so that by exploiting the resources of other European countries, they could develop their own country. So this was their extreme nationalism, and finally it led to the birth of First World War in 1914, and it continued till 1918, and whole world was in problem. Okay, so now you might have understood what is extreme nationalism or aggressive nationalism. Okay, it is equal to jingoism, chauvinism. Okay, it means that it is having synonym jingoism and chauvinism. Okay, now next I am going to speak about romantic nationalism. And liberal nationalism. First, let me explain about liberal nationalism. What is liberal nationalism? It is also an idea. Okay, it is an idea of developing the sense of equality among the people, the sense of freedom among the people, the sense of collective identity among the people. Okay, it is an idea of developing the sense of collective identity, the sense of equality, the sense of freedom, the sense of fraternity. Okay, then this is liberal nationalism. Okay, I am writing here. It is an idea of developing the sense of equality and unity among the people. Okay, liberal nationalism is an idea of developing the sense of equality and unity among the people. Now, one more term is there, romantic nationalism. How does it differ from liberal nationalism? Romantic nationalism is also an idea of developing the sense of equality and unity among the people, but through a particular medium, and this medium is cultural elements. Okay, next I am going to write the definition of romantic nationalism. It is also, same definition I am going to write, but some more additional informations will be added here. It is also an idea to develop the sense of equality, the sense of unity and devotion to one's own motherland through cultural elements. Definitions are almost similar. Okay, here I have written liberal nationalism is an idea of developing the sense of equality and unity among the people. And what have I written here? Romantic nationalism, it is also an idea to develop the sense of equality, the sense of unity and the devotion to one's own motherland through cultural elements. Now the here question crops up, what are these cultural elements? These cultural elements are poetry, prose, drama, music, dance. All these things are cultural elements here, and it is true that even through these cultural elements, the sense of collective identity can be generated among the common people. One example I would like to give. One song you must have heard, मेरे देश की धरती सोना उगले उगले हीरे मोती. This song is from the movie Upkar, and in the movie the central character has been played by Manoj Kumar, and Manoj Kumar has sung this song. And when you hear this song, you develop the goosebump. This is nationalism. This song develops your attachment with your motherland. This song connects you with your motherland. So this is the power of the song. Okay, and this song is cultural element. Okay, in the movie Border, the songs like संदेशे आते हैं, then मेरे दुश्मन मेरे भाई, sung in the climax. When these songs are also sung, you develop goosebumps. You develop a feeling of attachment with your motherland. This is the power of song. Okay, songs are not simply songs. Basically, if the songs are patriotic, then they do carry separate flavor. They do carry separate fragrance, and they connect you with your motherland. Okay, so if people are brought together, if the bond of unity is developed among the common people through patriotic music, patriotic dance, patriotic poetry, prose, drama, movie, then this is romantic nationalism. Okay, so romantic nationalism is also an idea. And how is it done? It is means when romantic nationalism works, it is the development of the sense of equality, the sense of unity, and the devotion to one's own motherland through cultural elements. The nationalists take the help of cultural elements in order to develop the sense of collective identity among the common people. So romantic nationalism, it is also an idea to develop the sense of equality, the sense of unity and devotion to one's own motherland through cultural elements. That means poetry, prose, drama, they must be patriotic. Okay, so I do think that all of you must have understood all these terms, and these terms are going to be used every now and then in this chapter from beginning to the end. Okay, so now in the end I am going to give you some assignments, and these assignments have to be done by you. Okay. And next time, this is so far I haven't started the chapter. Okay, just I gave the introduction of some important terms, and from our next class I am going to start the chapter. Okay, so you complete it and post it in your ERP. Okay. First assignment, define the different forms of nationalism. Then second, distinguish between imperialism and colonialism. Okay, only two assignments are there, and all these assignments have to be done by you. And in my next class, in my next video lecture, I shall start the chapter, and all of you have to watch every video, because this is the toughest chapter of the history, and you have to look at it very carefully. And whatever I decided, every notes I shall give, writing on the board, I shall give you every notes, and these notes have to be copied down by you in your fair copy. Then take the picture and post it in the ERP. Okay. Stay safe, stay home. Till then, bye bye.